Let's get straight to the point. You've spent your entire life giving, feeling, absorbing other people's pain as if it were your sacred duty. And now you're broken. This is not a poetic metaphor or a psychological diagnosis. It's the direct consequence of believing that your value depends on how much you can give before you collapse. Every time you silence your discomfort so someone else can be comfortable, you are negotiating with your own destruction. Every time you absorb someone else's toxicity because you can handle it, you are choosing self-annihilation disguised as compassion. Do you know what the real problem is? It's not that you feel too much. It's that you've confused feeling with serving. You've been sold the idea that being empathetic means being an infinite receptacle for other people's misery, an emotional sanctuary open 24 hours a day. And you accepted it, because the alternative, setting boundaries, makes you feel selfish. But here's what no one tells you. You're not selfish for protecting yourself. You're suicidal for not doing it. Alan Watts understood this brutally. Man suffers only because he takes seriously what the gods made for fun. And you've taken other people's suffering so seriously that you forgot you have the right not to carry it. You turned empathy into a prison, and worse, you became the cruelest jailer of all, yourself. Think about this. How many times have you said yes when you wanted to scream no? How many times have you swallowed your discomfort to avoid someone else's? And what did you gain? Nothing. Just the privilege of being the emotional trash can for people who don't even wonder how you're doing. Because here's the brutal truth. People don't appreciate your sacrifice. They expect it. And while you empty yourself by giving, they simply take, without guilt, without gratitude, without awareness. Empathy has become your curse because you never learned to distinguish between feeling with someone and dying for someone. You believe that if you don't absorb their pain, you're cold. You believe that if you set boundaries, you're cruel. Lie. The real act of cruelty is letting yourself be consumed until there's nothing left of you. And that's exactly what you're doing. Here's what's going to hurt. Most of the people you help don't see you as a human being. They see you as a tool. You're useful while you serve, and disposable when you refuse. And yet, you keep coming back, as if rejection were a sign that you need to give more. But it's not. Rejection is confirmation that you were never valued, only used. Lao Tzu wrote, "Caring for others without caring for yourself is like trying to fill cups with an empty pitcher." And you've spent years trying to fill other people's cups while your own pitcher cracks from drought. Until when? Until there's nothing left? Until your generosity turns into resentment and your empathy into bitterness? Because that's what happens when an empath stops pleasing themselves. It's not that they become selfish, it's that they finally see the truth. And the truth is terrifying. You've been giving your life to people who never asked for it and who probably didn't deserve it. You've been sacrificing yourself on an altar no one built for you, waiting for recognition that will never come. The world doesn't need another emotional martyr. There are already enough people destroying themselves in the name of goodness. What the world needs, what you need, is someone who understands that empathy without limits is not virtue, it's self-destruction. And here's the twist no one expects. When you stop pleasing everyone, when you start saying no, when you set boundaries, you don't lose important people. You lose parasites. Does that scare you? Of course it does. Because you've built your identity around being needed. You've confused being loved with being useful. And now you're afraid that if you stop serving, you'll stop mattering. But here's the revelation. If you only matter when you serve, you never truly mattered. Buddha explained it with devastating clarity. You yourself, as much as anyone in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. But you've handed out all your love and affection to strangers, acquaintances, to people who don't even know your last name. And meanwhile, you've put yourself last, as if you were less important than anyone else. Here comes the part that will change everything. True empathy is not sacrifice, it's balance. It's not absorbing everything until you drown. It's feeling without losing yourself. And that requires something you were taught to reject: sacred selfishness. Yes, selfishness. The ability to put yourself first, to protect your energy, to say no without feeling guilty. Because here's what no one tells you. When you put yourself first, you're not abandoning others. You're stopping abandoning yourself. And that's the difference between compassion and codependence. Compassion gives from abundance. Codependence gives from emptiness. And you've been giving from emptiness for so long that you no longer remember what it feels like to be full. Schopenhauer said, "Compassion is the basis of all morality." But he didn't specify that compassion must include you. And that omission has destroyed more empaths than anything else, because they learned to feel compassion for everyone except themselves. Do you know what happens when an empath wakes up? It's not a beautiful process. It's brutal. It's painful. It's like ripping a blindfold off your eyes and realizing you've been walking in circles, bleeding from wounds that weren't yours, carrying emotional corpses from battles you never fought. You start to see who's really there and who only shows up when they need something. You start noticing patterns. The same people with the same crises, expecting you to fix what they refuse to face. You begin to understand that you're not a lifeboat. You're an excuse for others not to save themselves. And here comes the most fucked up part. When you start setting boundaries, they call you selfish. They accuse you of having changed, of becoming cold, of not being the same. And they're right. You're not the same. Because who you were was slowly dying, and you finally decided that your life is worth more than their comfort. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But you've been living other people's how without having your own why. You've been so busy holding others up that you forgot to stand firmly on your own feet. The truth is that you confused empathy with emotional slavery. You believed that feeling someone else's pain meant you had to solve it. But that's not your job. It never was. Your job is to feel, yes, but also to know when to let go. Because holding on to other people's pain doesn't help them. It only destroys you. Here's the secret empaths discover too late. You can't save anyone. You can only offer a hand, and if they reject it, you have to move on. Because staying there, begging them to accept your help, isn't love. It's obsession. It's the neurotic need to be needed. Carl Jung said it bluntly. Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but when touching a human soul, be just another human soul. And you've been trying to be a god, a healer, a savior, but you're only human. And humans have limits, have needs, have the right to say enough. Do you know the exact moment an empath regains their power? When they say no for the first time without justifying it. When they set a boundary without apologizing. When they choose their peace over someone else's comfort. That moment is revolutionary because it breaks years of conditioning. You were taught that you're selfish if you don't give everything. You were told you're insensitive if you prioritize your well-being. You were convinced that your value lies in how much you can endure before breaking. But all of that is a lie. A lie designed to keep you submissive, available, exploitable. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The world prefers broken empaths. They're easier to manipulate, easier to exploit, easier to discard. An empath with boundaries is a threat because they can no longer be used. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And an empath's strength isn't in how much they can endure, but in knowing when to stop enduring. Here comes the greatest revelation. When you stop pleasing everyone, you don't lose real connections. You simply expose the fake ones. And that hurts. It hurts to discover that a friendship of years only existed because you gave and they took. It hurts to watch them disappear when you're no longer convenient. But that pain is necessary. It's the price of clarity. Because only when you remove what's false can you see what's real. And what's real is rare. Most connections are transactional, based on usefulness, not authenticity. And you've been feeding fake connections with your real energy, hoping they'd become genuine. They won't. Epictetus put it brutally, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." And most people think they already know how to treat you, like an unlimited resource. As long as you allow that, that's how they'll treat you. So what do you do when you wake up? First, you feel guilt. Guilt for saying no. Guilt for setting boundaries. Guilt for choosing yourself. That guilt is the last attempt of your conditioning to keep you enslaved. Ignore it. It's not real. It's programming. Second, you face resistance. People get angry when you change the rules. They feel betrayed when they can no longer depend on you unconditionally. Let them. Their anger is their problem, not yours. Third, you rediscover who you are without the weight of everyone else. And that's the scariest part, because you might not know who you are. You've been so busy being what others needed that you forgot to be what you need. Watt said it perfectly. The ego is not the master in its own house. And your ego has been so busy serving other egos that it forgot its own home. It's time to return. It's time to rebuild. Here's what you discover when you stop pleasing. Loneliness isn't punishment. It's clarity. It's the space necessary to hear yourself without the noise of other people's demands. It's the silence where you can finally feel your own emotions, not the ones you absorbed from others. And in that silence, you find something extraordinary. Yourself. Not the version you created to please, not the character you built to serve, but the raw essence, unfiltered, unmasked. And that essence deserves as much love as the love you've given to strangers. Rumi wrote, "Your task is not to seek love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." And you've built enormous barriers against loving yourself, justifying them with nobility and empathy. But there's nothing noble about self-abandonment. Here comes the final paradox. When you stop being available to everyone, you become more valuable to the right ones. Because people who deserve your energy respect your boundaries. Toxic people hate them. So your boundaries become the perfect filter. Those who leave when you set boundaries were never yours. Those who stay, respecting your space, your time, your energy, those are the real ones. And you discover something surprising. They are few, very few. But those few are worth more than the crowds that drained you. Seneca made it clear, it is quality, not quantity, that matters. And you've been measuring your value in quantity. How many people you help, how many problems you solve, how much you give. But the quality of your life is measured by how much you keep for yourself. Do you know what's most liberating? Realizing you don't need a reason to say no. You don't need an excuse. You don't need to justify yourself. You don't need to convince anyone. No is a complete sentence. And when you understand that, when you live it, everything changes. You're no longer the broken empath who says yes out of fear of rejection. You're the awakened empath who says no out of self-respect. And that transformation is irreversible. Once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. The truth is that most people don't want your empathy. They want your submission. They don't want you to understand them. They want you to obey them. And when you stop obeying, they accuse you of losing your empathy. But you didn't lose it. You reclaimed it. You redirected it toward the only one who truly needed it: you. So here's the final question. Are you willing to let go of the need to be everyone's lifeboat? Can you live without the validation that comes from sacrificing yourself? Because that's the real test. Not how much you can give, but how much you can keep and still feel whole. The answer determines everything. Either you remain the broken empath, giving until you die, hoping someone will finally see you, or you become the free empath who gives by choice, not obligation. One dies slowly, the other lives fully. Choose wisely. Because no one else can make this choice for you. And that's the most liberating truth of all. If you made it to the end, comment, "I am an empath," and I will personally reply to you. And if it resonated with you, subscribe to be part of it and give it a like if you enjoyed it. Until next time.